This will... Okay, you trolls. This will magically appear on the whiteboard in a second. The basic idea of this is a theory that John Kotter, who's probably the best regarded management thinker in the world, put together to say, how do we manage change? And we're always dealing with change in business, and you guys are going to be dealing with change in your assignment task. So how do you manage change? And he put together this model that sits in 8 steps. Now, what I think is, I don't think you will use all 8 of these steps in writing your answer. But I think you might look at a few of these steps and say they're a little bit similar to the managing culture model that we've got. Okay, so for example, getting the vision right. Well, that's a little bit about explaining what you want the culture to be in an organisation. Enabling action. That might be making sure that you've got the right people doing the right thing. Making it stick. That might look at strategies like rewarding people who are doing the right work. So there's a link between the two, and you might use these things together to make a little bit of a model. You might also use that model from the Forbes article that I emailed you yesterday and try and put something together. I think it shows a lot of intellectual capacity when you put together a few models, like a few different ideas, to come up with a way of going forward. To say these things are all saying the same thing. The creating a vision, for example, is really important because all 3 models talk about it. Therefore, that's what the first thing we're going to do in this case. So let's think about, Kotter said there are 8 steps that you should go through to change an organisation. The first of these is a sense of urgency. Now, in the case study I gave you, we've got the case study there of Qantas and Jetstar, but I'll talk about the case study of the accountancy firm. When you're talking about sense of urgency, the sort of things you'd be talking about to your staff there are the fact that the ATO is looking at your business unfavourably, that there seems to be a drop-off in the number of clients. And if those things keep going, people will lose their jobs. That makes it urgent for people to act. That makes it important for people to think about act. So that's the first thing, a sense of urgency. Kotter talks about putting a team together. You may or may not want to do that, but that's similar to managing culture because you might use people who are doing the right thing as an important example of what's happening. The third step is saying, what's the vision going to be about the change? Now, in what we've talked about, the model of managing culture, one of the key things they talked about there was maybe using something like a newsletter, or a regular email to communicate the desired culture. What do you want to see in the firm? Well, this is about the vision. Okay, this is about saying what do we want to see in our business. So for the accounting business we're talking about, the sort of things they might want to see is like excellent customer service, a high level of ethics, and having a positive relationship with the tax office, not being in strife with them. So that might be the vision that goes with it. And it might also be other things like being a profitable business and a growing business so that there are more opportunities for people. Then you've got to communicate that. That fits in a lot with the other one, the previous step. Right? Again, we talk about the change vision of something there. The Jetstar example there, we talked about visual things, posters that you could do. Letting people act on the change. Now, this is a really important one in our accounting firm because one of the things we've talked about is the idea of the internal whistleblower. A whistleblower is someone who provides information about things that are going wrong in their own organisation that have potential to do harm. When we talk about an internal whistleblower, we're talking about someone inside the organisation being prepared to talk about when things are not going right. So you could say one of the important elements of taking action, letting people take action, is encouraging people to come forward to you with information about the business. Josie.
Do you have to ask someone to be a whistleblower? Like, if you trusted someone, you could be like, oh, can you...
I don't know if you would ask them or whether you might set up a regular meeting with them, or you might make them part of the ethics committee, and so they immediately had some responsibility. But yeah, I do think you've got the right to ask. You might say, you know, if the person's name is John, you might say, John, you seem to have a good grasp of what we've done wrong in the past. Can you please keep letting me know if there are issues that concern you? That's the sort of conversation, absolutely. Short-term wins, so seeing that you're on the track, seeing that you're doing the right thing. So this accounting firm might get back to celebrating if they get extra clients. if they might send an email out to clients and ask for feedback on customer service. So when they get good feedback, they might celebrate that. Never letting up. Right. This is thinking about trying to make things into permanent change. And that's going to be important in the accounting firm. This is not a short-term thing. Continuing with the things you want to change. For example, we talk about training as being a way of changing culture. Well, continuing to offer training that will improve the customer service, that will improve the ethics there. And the last thing is incorporating into the culture, which is what we've talked about a lot around the culture. Okay, so how are you rewarding staff that are doing the right thing? As a manager, are you continuing to demonstrate the best behaviour? Are you continuing to let staff know what we want to see from them? And are we continuing to recruit the sort of people who are going to support our culture? So that's the 8 Kotter steps.